Hey, what's up guys, it's Chips, and today I'm going to be giving my top tips on how you can win more in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now, this guide is intended for players who are already pretty familiar with the basic mechanics of the game and want to get into the online play scene and get more race wins. So, without further ado, let's get right into my tips. I've broken down my tips into 5 simple steps that will definitely improve your gameplay in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. My 5 steps are the following. 1. Ride corners. 2. Keep coins up. 3. Always hold counters. 4. Know your shortcuts. And lastly, 5. Utilize items every time. Starting off with tip number 1. This tip is to ride corners. What I mean by this is that when you come up on a turn, make sure to ride the edge of the turn at the tightest angle possible. Now, how tight you can make the turn really depends on your kart setup, but for online play, I definitely recommend using a kart with high traction and grip. Bikes can also take turns pretty sharp, but realize driving a bike is a completely different handling situation than driving a kart. I personally drive a kart, but everyone has their preferences. Riding your corners significantly pushes you ahead of the pack. It will make a much larger difference than you would expect. Another thing that goes along with riding corners is cutting corners. This is going off the marked track to boost around a corner to gain some distance. Most corner cuts require mushrooms, however there are some that can be performed without them, such as these 2 corners in Wario's Gold Mine, where you can perform a jump boost after hitting the slight incline on the corners of the track. Knowing tricks like these can help make the difference between a first place and a second place. Moving on to the next tip, coins are a crucial part to winning really close races. It is imperative you have 10 coins at least 90% of the race. 10 coins provides the maximum increase to your top speed, and you lose 3 coins every time you get hit by an item or fall off the course. So always make sure to have 10. I would recommend getting up to the 10 coin mark before you're even halfway through the first lap. This is definitely feasible, although sometimes difficult. All you have to do is focus on coins for the first half lap and make sure to pick up that extra 3 every time you get hit. Coins also provide a very small speed boost that is barely noticeable when you collect them. They do make a difference, so try to collect as many coins as possible while still riding corners, even if you already have 10. The next tip is to always hold counters. What I mean by this is to always have a shell, banana, or super horn on hand whenever possible. The most useful item to have on hand being the super horn, with its ability to repel blue shells. Many people tend to hold items behind them to show that they're guarding their backside to any oncoming shells, but I recommend, as an advanced tip, if you are far enough ahead that you get a warning as a shell is coming towards you, don't hold it behind you, so the person to your rear thinks you have no guard and will waste their shell on you. If you were to wait until that person got close enough to where there wasn't a warning when the shell came up behind you, then you would be more vulnerable to attacks because you'd have less time to react. If you have a shell or banana in your item slot, make sure to drop them right before item boxes and repeat until you have a super horn in your slot. The super horn can block any and every oncoming projectile and is the most versatile tool a person can get in first place. However, when you drop these items, always be sure to utilize them, and I will cover how to utilize every item you get effectively in the 5th tip. 4th tip, and probably the most obvious out of all of these, is to know your shortcuts. This is a very important part of winning races. Not a lot of people know every single shortcut, so knowing all the shortcuts on every track can help you a lot and comes in clutch a lot of times when you pass someone at the last second and win the race. Most shortcuts require a mushroom to get through rough areas of the track, but there are a few that don't and can provide a significant lead if you can pull them off, like this one in Cloud Top Cruise and this one in Thwomp Runes. I suggest going into time trials and practicing all the shortcuts and making sure you remember where they are. Utilizing these shortcuts will come in handy way more than you would think. Moving into our 5th and final tip, utilize items every time. What I mean by this is that every time you get an item in your item box, you have to use it in some way that makes sense, other than just aimlessly throwing it. The 2 most common items that don't get utilized are the green shell and banana. These items are often thrown randomly about the track and don't present any real hazard to the other racers, as they are usually really easy to avoid on the track. Like I said in tip 3, an advanced strategy to use is dropping banana peels right in front of item boxes as you grab them, as you see right here. This is pretty hard to avoid for players if they don't notice the peel until they are basically about to hit the item box. This is probably the most effective way of dropping unwanted banana peels. Green shells, on the other hand, are a different story. They can really only be utilized if you are not extremely far ahead of the people behind you. The way to utilize these items in this circumstance is to use the X button to activate your rear camera and then throw your green shell behind you so that it hits the person to your rear. Remembering to do this each time you want to get rid of a green shell will help maintain your lead in every race and help you get more first places. Now there's one final thing to remember when racing in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and that is that this game sometimes just comes down to luck. You may be in first the whole race and just get barraged with shells right before the finish line and get pushed back to 7th or 8th for the finish. But you also could be in 7th or 8th and get some mushrooms and take a huge shortcut to clutch out the first place. So don't get discouraged when you're not getting first every single time, because that's not going to happen. These tips are just meant to maximize the amount of times you can take that first place win. I hope you guys found these tips helpful, and if you did, make sure to drop a like on the video. But if you think these tips are stupid and I should quit the game, just drop a dislike. I stream Mario Kart on Twitch all the time over at twitch.tv/tipslive, so if you want to see some of these tips in action, definitely go check out my channel there too. Also, if you have any more tips that you'd like to share with the community, make sure to drop them down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video in any capacity, subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell, as I will be making a lot more videos like this in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.